Namaste friends, welcome you all for the biology session. This is Manjunath here from Sankalp course. Today we'll continue with the chapter breathing and exchange of gases. In that we were discussing about respiratory volumes. We discussed what exactly the respiratory volumes and respiratory capacities. So respiratory volumes, the quantity, how much the volume of air will be taken in and hold, and that will be exhaled out. So respiratory capacities, the sum of the volumes, right, two or more volumes, which will be the sum of two or more volumes, which gives a capacities. So that is a total amount, combination of two or more volumes. We can say what is that, the combination of two or more volumes which gives capacities. That is we discussed in the previous class. Now to measure these the volumes, here one note, vital capacity, that is what we discussed, that is a tidal volume plus IRV plus ERV. It is always highest, the more in case of athletes, mountaineers and mountain dwellers. Athletes, mountaineers and mountain dwellers. And it will be the highest in athletes and mountaineers and mountain dwellers. So here the very important thing you have to keep in mind, it will be low in the women, that is non-athletes, and also in the women and people living in plains, right? People living in plains, which shows less vital capacity, and non-athletes and women are going to show that is the very low vital capacity. And here we can say that the vital capacity is less in case of the cigarette smokers. Right, that is why it is very dangerous, right? In this the class will take what exactly the respirometer, which is also called as respirometer, which used to measure these volumes and capacities, but not all the capacities, or you can say volumes, can be measured. So here very important thing, can be directly measured. Here I will write except RV, that is we know that is a residual volume, and functional residual capacity, the total the volume which will be there in the lungs even after normal expiration, that is RV, FRC and total lung capacity. So we will take this within a while. So total lung capacity we can write in simple way, that is VC, that is the vital capacity, as we already discussed, that TV plus IRV plus ERV plus RV, which gives the vital capacity. So vital capacity, if you're going to add all those values what we have already discussed, that will be something around 5100 to 5800 ml will be there. So this is the total lung capacity. What is that? How we can define that total lung capacity? So here you should keep in mind that it is the total amount of air present in the lungs, right? Total, always total eladaga nenpitkolli, that is a capacities. Total volume of air in lungs, this is very important, in lungs and including respiratory passage. And what is that? Respiratory passage, total volume of the air in lungs and respiratory passage, that is what tract we discuss, from nostril to up to the terminal bronchioles, allivargu exchange agala adu, right? There we can say respiratory passage. So respiratory passage, right? So this including the lungs and respiratory passage, the total volume of air which will be there, total volume of air in lungs and respiratory passage after maximum inspiration. This is very, very important. After maximum inspiration. So ಎಷ್ಟು ಜೋರು ಉಸಿರಾಟ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಒಳಗಡೆಗೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಏರ್ ಲಂಗ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ದ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ. So this is one, and in a simplest way we can say, we can define the VC. So vital capacity, what is it, they can be defined as, it is a total volume of air inspired or expired at maximum level. So VC we can take here, right? VC, total volume of, it includes both total volume of air, right, at maximum inspiration and expiration. It includes both the total volume of air which will be inspired or during inspired and expired, both we can say inspired and expired to a maximum level. Here it includes both to a maximum level, so that is a vital capacity, right? So that is why here we can say, what is it, vital capacity is, what is that, which includes vital capacity VC plus TV plus IRV ERV, right, at maximum, what is it, the inspiration, or you can say at maximum expiration, at the level of maximum inspiration or maximum expiration is called as VC. So that is what we discussed, that is, except using respirometer we can, what is it, the measure, right? So respirometer, which is also called as spirometer, used to measure, right, it has a, what is it, the significance in the clinical diagnosis. So measure directly. So generally we can, what is it, we can't be able to measure these things, RV, FRC and TLC. So answer for this is, we can select, what is that, inspiratory capacity can be measured. See, residual volume, we can't measure this. Total lung capacity, we can't measure that, and including that we can also say that FRC we can't measure. So all these can't be measured. So inspiratory capacity can be measured. We know that what is exactly the inspiratory capacity. Total amount of air inspired after normal expiration. Total amount of air inspired. Total amount of air inspired after normal inspiration. So already we have discussed this, normal inspiration. So this is what you have to keep it in mind. Total amount of air inspired after normal inspiration. So that is inspiratory capacity. Now let us take next question. During moderate aerobic exercise, generally we can say that this, generally in the tennis condition, what happens to these, or what are the changes we're going to see? So whenever there is a need of, what is the oxygen will be there will be need of oxygen, more carbon dioxide is releasing anta artha. So that time, that is the moderate exercise, what is that, more, what is it, the carbon dioxide will be released, alva. So compensate that, you should give more oxygen. So in the body, if it is increased carbon dioxide level, right, you should give more, what is it, or increase should increase the, what is that, the oxygen level, or you can say that you should provide more oxygen level. So that is where we can say, that is to increase the oxygen level, what is that, the ventilation should be increased. What is that, ventilation means to the alveoli, you should, what is that, the inspire, or you can say inhale, inspiration or inhalation should be done to increase the availability of more oxygen. So you can, through the alveolar ventilation, you can, that is inspiration or inhalation, you can increase the oxygen supply. So whenever you are going to increase the oxygen supply, you can, what is it, the remove more carbon dioxide. So arterial pH decreases. If the carbon dioxide in the body, that is increases, the pH level generally increases, right? So we'll take that in the other question. What happens during, what is the association of oxyhemoglobin and dissociation of oxyhemoglobin. Association of oxyhemoglobin and dissociation of oxyhemoglobin. We'll take up that within while. So here the blood lactate level increases, right? So generally whenever the utilization is more, aerobic exercise ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ಅಂದರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಶುಗರ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಸ್, ರೈಟ್, ಅಂದರೆ ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ರೈಟ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ alveolar ventilation increases. So what is the meaning of that alveolar ventilation increases? That is what inspiration, through inspiration or inhalation, we're going to increase. So during moderate exercise, alveolar ventilation increases. So that is what you have to keep it in mind. Next, so combining of hemoglobin with oxygen in lungs can be promoted by, in lungs mean that is in the alveolar capillary. Don't get confused with this. That is in the alveolar capillary. So combining hemoglobin with oxygen in lungs can be promoted. How we can promote this? That is what here we can say oxyhemoglobin formation and what is it? The dissociation. See, at the alveolar capillary, what happens when the more oxygen, right? So when PO2 is high, right, PCO2 is less, right, and then here we can say that the pH is more because of less H plus ion, and the temperature which is less. So in this condition favors the formation of oxyhemoglobin, which helps in the formation of oxyhemoglobin, so that it can be delivered easily to the tissue. Oxyhemoglobin, where exactly? That is at the alveolar capillary, that is the alveolar site. And if it is reverse case, if PCO2, the PO2 is less, right, and partial pressure of carbon dioxide is high, right, at the same time we can say that H plus ion is high. If the H plus ion is high, the pH is less, means acidic. Keep it in mind, that is acidic, towards acidic. Generally blood pH will be the 3.35 to 7.45. the pH of blood, right, pH of blood normally 7.3 to 7.4. that is, we can say that slightly alkaline. This is slightly alkaline. So during this, the condition, what happens when the PCO2 is high, at the tissue level? This is at tissue level. At tissue level, if generally partial pressure of oxygen will be less and PCO2 is high, H plus ion is more, pH is less, means acidic, right? pH is less means it is towards less than 7, or I can say up to 7. It decreases, right? So that is what you have to, pH is less means it decreases towards, that is acidic, right? And then here we can say temperature is more, temperature is high. So in this condition, dissociation of hemoglobin occurs. This is very, very important. Dissociation e condition aladre, that is at tissue level, association at the alveolar level agutte. Oxyhemoglobin formation agutte. Ade oxyhemoglobin, it is not a stable compound, the unstable compound. Clean again, easily it will going to release oxygen. That is what dissociation will say. Dissociation, right? So question note bana. So when the combining of hemoglobin, means oxyhemoglobin yavaga formation agutte, that is at the alveolar side, promoted by decrease in oxygen concentration, that is at the tissue side, dissociation will going to take place. No. And next, the increasing oxygen concentration in the blood. So whenever we are going to increase the oxygen concentration, right, increasing oxygen concentration in the blood, right, not only increases the combination, we can consider this. Let us take this, increasing carbon dioxide concentration in blood. So combining of hemoglobin with oxygen in the lungs can be promoted by, so here in this case, keep it in mind, by increasing the oxygen concentration in blood. No, so keep it in mind, increasing the oxygen concentration in blood means actually to the alveolar side there will be, when it will going to reach towards the alveolar side, just I will write one pictorial representation, is this blood will be with more carbon dioxide, and this is alveoli. In the alveoli there will be more oxygen, partial pressure of oxygen. So if you're going to increase the carbon dioxide concentration in the blood capillary, so that from higher concentration to the lower concentration carbon dioxide will move. Already there will be high concentration of partial pressure, or you can say that the partial pressure of oxygen will be there in the alveoli. that will going to move into the capillary. This is very, very important. At the alveolar site, this exchange depends on blood. In blood, there should be more carbon dioxide concentration. Keep it in mind. Increasing carbon dioxide concentration in blood at the alveolar site, right? Not more than the partial pressure of oxygen which will be there in the lungs. It should not be more than that. So that will be something around 40-45. Right, in the alveoli that will be something, what is that we have discussed, that is 104 mm Hg will be there. So it should 104 mm of Hg, that is a partial pressure of oxygen. And here in the blood capillary, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide will be, what is that, the 40. So now it will going to get exchanged. So that is what depends on the solubility. Right, so answer for that, increasing the carbon dioxide concentration, you can combine the hemoglobin with oxygen, that is at the alveolar site. At the alveolar site. Next. So this association and dissociation mele question aagtave. So just go through that. What are the factors? Under a given oxygen concentration in blood, dissociation of oxyhemoglobin will increase. Yavaga dissociation of oxyhemoglobin, just now we discussed that. So we can say that whenever there is a, what is that, pH which will be going towards, that is the 7.35, you consider it is decreasing. When pH of the blood falls, that means more carbon dioxide. So that is where generally under the given oxygen concentration in blood, dissociation of oxyhemoglobin occurs when there is an increased carbon dioxide concentration. Increased carbon dioxide concentration, that means when the pH of blood, that is H plus ion, increases. If the H plus ion increases, that becomes more acidic, as we all know that. If it is, what is it, the H plus ion keep on increases, pH, what is that, going to fall. That is, pH will be less. pH andre less andre illi artha madkobeku, 7.3 low, right, towards a, what is it, the low pH value. And then pH falls, so that as the pH falls, that indicates that more carbon dioxide will be there. Where oxyhemoglobin, when reaches that, what is it, the oxyhemoglobin reaches that place, it will going to, what is it, they dissociate, and hemoglobin combines with carbon dioxide, right? Hemoglobin and oxygen will be utilized by tissue. Oxygen will be utilized by tissue. Just now we discussed that. So here we can see that dissociation at the tissue site, when pH is less, when pH falls, that will going to, what is that, decrease. So when blood pH falls, dissociation of oxyhemoglobin occurs, right? When blood, this pH of blood rises, means it is towards, if it is becomes more, that is towards the, what is it, the, actually it should be alkaline, means to consider that it is, if it is going to maintain the, towards the basic, means pH is more, will say 7.45 above 7.4, pH is more. So this is very, very important. So pH is less andre, that is 1, 2, 3, like that. pH is more andre, that is 7.4, like that, right? So if acidic condition, pH is less, pH falls. Acidic condition, pH falls, that is 1 to within 7, right? 1 to within 6.9, right? That is falls anta. Increase agta ide andre, that is 7, what is that, 7 to 14, that is, that becomes basic anta. So carbon dioxide concentration in blood falls. If carbon dioxide concentration going to fall, it won't, what is it, the help in the, what is it, the dissociation. It should increase. Free fatty acids concentration of blood, it won't affect generally. Next, so answer for that is pH of blood falls. Next, let us move on to the, what is it, the concept where regulation of respiration we discuss. That is, in that regulation, the very important thing we have discussed about, what is it, the receptors like pneumotoxic center, right? That is the one question we can expect there, that is pneumotoxic center, which inhibits the inspiration, inhibits the rate of inspiration, or you can say that is respiration, when there will be a toxic condition. So, and one more we studied that along with that, medulla oblongata, right? So medulla oblongata is the respiratory rhythmic center, oblongata is the respiratory rhythmic center. Respiratory rhythmic center. Otherly, we can see that what is it? The dorsal respiratory group, right? And then ventral respiratory group, right? So these, what is it? The two groups will be there, and along with that pneumotoxic center. All together RRC, that is pneumotoxic center and medulla oblongata. Respiratory rhythmic center includes dorsal respiratory group, ventral respiratory group, and pneumotoxic center. More, that is pneumotoxic center, right? Which we know that is located in the pons. Located in, what is it? The pons varolii. Next. So here we can discuss about what is it? The one more, along with that there is a chemosensitive area. I think I mentioned this. The chemosensitive area, you may get this question, that is present in the, what is it? One is the central, what is it? The nervous system. That is central nervous system in medulla oblongata. Central nervous system anta keltade. Where exactly the chemosensitive area are present in the central nervous system? That is in the medulla oblongata. And also they are present, what is it? The peripheral chemoreceptors. We'll say that peripheral, other than the central nervous system, peripheral chemoreceptors. So these peripheral chemoreceptors are present in systemic artery, and present in systemic artery, that is mainly which includes all of the systemic artery in the, that is which includes, what is that? Aortic arches ಹಾಗೆ carotid artery. ಇದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಆಗಬಹುದು. Aortic arches and carotid artery which supply blood to the brain. Artery which supply blood to the brain is called as carotid artery. And next, whenever we're going to discuss about this, we can say how exactly the transport of carbon dioxide and the oxygen will be takes place. Just I will give one the small explanation for this and how the exchange of gases takes place. One is, you have to keep it in mind that external the respiration and internal respiration. We all know that what exactly happens. Here I am going to mention this at the alveoli and blood. Here we can just recollect, this is the alveoli and there is a membrane. We all know that this alveoli, which is lined by the squamous epithelium. Thickness of the membrane plays a major role in the rate of the diffusion. That is, it is lined by squamous epithelium, and then there is a blood capillary, right? The blood capillary which is with endothelium, right? So these epithelium of the blood capillary is called as endothelium. So in between there is a membrane on which they are going to rest, that is the basement membrane. So this is inside the blood capillary, right? Here you can just, I will shade with other color. So this is the basement membrane. So including all these, the membrane, three membranes, it will be the less than 1 micrometer. So diffusion membrane, where it helps in the exchange of gases easily through this alveoli to blood capillary. So this is what the exchange will going to take place into the blood capillary. So here in the alveoli, the partial pressure of oxygen will be 104 mm of Hg, right? That is millimeter of mercury, and then partial pressure of carbon dioxide will be 40 mm Hg, and in the blood the partial pressure of oxygen, when it has to get exchanged, generally we will say that is the 95 mm of Hg will be there. That is partial pressure of the oxygen and carbon dioxide, which will be there, that is 40. So that is why it will going to get exchanged, that is PCO2, that is it will going to exchange. When the systemic artery will say that when it will going to get exchange, here we can say 45, so that it can move into the lungs. So systemic vein and systemic artery slightly it varies. If you consider this is in the systemic artery, while it will going to transferring oxygen to the body cells. Body cells get transfer madbekadre, that is in the the systemic artery, more oxygen will be there. And if you consider that same in the the systemic vein, which is going to bring deoxygenated blood. Systemic vein, there we can say that the partial pressure of oxygen will be very less, that is 40 mm Hg, and whereas a partial pressure of carbon dioxide will be 45 mm Hg. So this is what you can say in the systemic the vein, which will be more and here 95 and you make it 40, sorry. So while it will going to exchange from the systemic to the the heart, and then heart to the through the pulmonary artery to the the lungs, pulmonary artery to the lungs, right? And then here from the lungs to the heart, and then from systemic artery to the body, from systemic artery to the body. So these are the the volumes you have to keep it in mind. Just let me give one simple chart for this. So always if you're going to keep the chart in your mind, so that is enough. So how exactly the transportation of the gases takes place? Partial pressure of it depends on partial pressure, that is a pressure gradient. It depends on the pressure gradient, and also it depends on the solubility, depends on the solubility of the gases, and along with that, so now here just we can mention from outside to inside how exactly the the partial pressure will going to. So partial pressure of oxygen always in the atmosphere is 159 mm Hg, and then partial carbon dioxide is 0.3 mm Hg. This is you have to keep it in mind, that is in the atmosphere, right? In the atmosphere it is more the partial pressure of oxygen and less partial pressure of carbon dioxide. And when it is going to enter, so that it will going to enter into partial pressure of oxygen in the lungs, it will be 104, and then the partial pressure of carbon dioxide, it will be 40. So and then when it enters in the the systemic artery and systemic vein, we have taken that. So that is you have to keep it in mind. So next, transportation of gases. How the transportation of gases takes place? So mainly this in different forms. So different forms of the during transportation, we can say, just we'll take the transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide. So transportation of oxygen, which takes place in two forms. Transportation of oxygen which takes place in two forms. One is in dissolved form, right? Oxygen which is going to dissolve in the water, that is in blood plasma, water which is present in blood plasma, that is 3%, and 97% of oxygen which will be transported in the form of oxyhemoglobin. When oxygen combines with the hemoglobin, we can say that is oxyhemoglobin. So in this, always we're going to get a question, there is Haldane effect and Amberger's phenomena. Haldane effect and Amberger's phenomena. So 97% of oxygen in the form of oxyhemoglobin. So what is that exactly hemoglobin? Hemoglobin is a respiratory pigment. We all know that. So respiratory pigment, and we know that the affinity, which shows, right, whenever the carbon dioxide concentration is more, it combines with carbon dioxide. So here the oxygen, if you consider that, which will be with the iron molecule, right, Fe2 plus, right, and each iron molecule which will going to carry the 4 molecules of oxygen. So here you should keep it in mind that this is a porpyrrole ring. Porpyrrole ring, we can say that it contains porpyrrole ring, and that is consisting of 4 pyrrole ring, and each ring will be with 4 Fe2 plus, each ring with one Fe2 plus molecule, and each can they carry that one hemoglobin, each can carry one oxygen molecule, so that totally 4 oxygen molecule can be. So one hemoglobin which can carry binds with 4 oxygen molecule, So in 1 gram of hemoglobin, generally if you consider that 1 gram of hemoglobin which can carry 1.34 ml of oxygen, 34 ml of oxygen. So that in the 100 ml of the blood, generally in the 100 ml of blood, right, there will be hemoglobin, normal hemoglobin content will be 15 gram. 15 gram of hemoglobin will be there, and an average, right, that will be vary. In male it will be more, in female it will be less. So what is the total, the oxygen which will be delivered generally? So whenever we are going to say this, see here 1.34 ml, right, by 1 the gram. So if it is a 15 gram, we can derive that 15 into 1.34, that where we can say that the total amount which will going to carry the total oxygen content. So next, so factors affecting the the rate of the transportation of oxygen, we know that. So already we have discussed, that is what the formation of oxyhemoglobin and dissociation of oxyhemoglobin, right. Here to represent that, we're going to take up that within a while, that is oxygen dissociation curve. So I will explain that, which is a sigmoid curve. So before that, let us take some questions related to this, what we have discussed now. That is each the one hemoglobin can carry 4 oxygen molecule. Next, how many molecules of oxygen can be carried by the molecules of hemoglobin? By a molecule, single molecule, that is we discussed, that is 4 porpyrrole ring, and porpyrrole ring with the 4 pyrrole ring, 4 pyrrole ring with 4 the Fe2 plus. So 4 the heme group which can carry, right, generally 4 oxygen molecules. So that is what the answer is, 4. Next, so dissociation of oxyhemoglobin can be promoted by dissociation of oxyhemoglobin. So you have to keep it in mind, this dissociation association ಯಾವಾಗೂ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಡಿಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಹಿಮೋಗ್ಲೋಬಿನ್ ಇಂದ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗೋದು, ಹಿಮೋಗ್ಲೋಬಿನ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅಫಿನಿಟಿ ತೋರಿಸೋದು. So that is what you have to keep it in mind. So in this you have to keep it in mind, whenever the high if it is increased partial pressure of carbon dioxide, then hemoglobin will going to show more towards the the affinity towards the carbon dioxide than low partial pressure of oxygen. If it is less than this, if it is partial pressure of carbon dioxide, when it is more than partial pressure of oxygen, definitely the solubility, we can say more the solubility will be there. And one more thing, hemoglobin affinity towards the carbon dioxide increases. So that is, we can say that answer for this is high PCO2. So when high PCO2 is there, high partial pressure of carbon dioxide, dissociation of oxyhemoglobin affects, means formation agalla, dissociate agutte. Next, an increase in the P50 value of the hemoglobin, the curve would result from a decrease in, right, what is it, an increase in P50 value of an oxyhemoglobin, right, oxyhemoglobin curve would result from a decrease in, that is the curve change agutte, P50 value increase agutte. See, this is very very important, right. When we are going to represent, we will plot the percentage saturation. You are all familiar with that oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve. So percentage saturation, when percentage saturation of hemoglobin with carbon dioxide, oxygen is plotted, right. So this is a percentage is plotted against the partial pressure of oxygen, that we are going to get a the sigmoid curve, that we are going to get a sigmoid curve. So this sigmoid curve, right, which is what we can say oxygen dissociation curve. Here the one very important thing we should keep it in mind, that so P50 value, what is the P50 value? When the percentage saturation reaches, here I will write 10, 20, 30, 40, that is a saturation. 50, like this, if you're going to consider 50% saturation. So I will take here, okay. So in this 50% saturation, so if it is going to reach 50% saturation, at what partial pressure it will going to reach that 50% saturation is very important. That is, at when the partial pressure of oxygen is 25 mm of Hg, then it will going to reach, what is it, the P50, that is 50% saturation will be attained by hemoglobin, which combined with hemoglobin combines with oxygen, right, completely, that is of about 50%, that is P50 value. ಯಾವ partial pressure of oxygen ನಲ್ಲಿ 25 mm of Hg ನಲ್ಲಿ. Sir, again, if it is going to get, what is it, some 35, so 35 if you are going to write here, so that will going to get, right, which is going to attain, that is at, what is it, when the partial pressure is 20. So same like that here, what is it, 10, 20, 25, what is it, the 30, right, and then 40 if you're going to write, in the 40 it will going to, what is it, the show percentage saturation something around, that is the 75% saturation. And when the partial pressure is 95, when the partial pressure is, just assume that it is a 95, what is it, the mmHg, partial pressure of oxygen is 95 mm of Hg, then it will going to show, what is it, the percentage saturation, which is 97, completely highest. So this is what, if it has to increase, PO2, what is it, that is partial pressure of oxygen should increase. That is what, increase in an increase in P50 of an oxyhemoglobin curve would result from decrease in, end decrease ಆದರೆ P50 value increase ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So a very important thing. So whenever the oxygen availability is more, it will going to P50 value attains within this 25 mm of Hg nalle P50 value attain agbidutte saturation. If, what is that, the PO2 decreases, then P50 value increases. Assume that less availability of water, 40 mm of Hg nalle, right, it may attain that P50 value. Now the curve will going to shift more towards the right. So this is very important. So illi P50 value attain agutte, this curve. So in the red line what I have represented, that will going to attain at 40. So if this is increased, means what, P50 value, this is P50 value. So increase P50 value when, what is it, decrease, we can say more oxygen requirement ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, means decrease, what is it, the P50 value. So this you have to keep it in mind. High, if it is high carbon dioxide concentration, further it will move more, what is it, towards, what is it, the right, more towards the right, means there more PCO2, very less, what is that, PO2. So decrease in oxygen level, that increases the P50 value. Let us define what is P50 value here, right? So this is very important. P50 value is a value of PO2, that is partial pressure of oxygen, at which hemoglobin is 50% saturated with 50% saturated, right? So with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin. ಯಾವಾಗ 50% ಸ್ಯಾಚುರೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ 50% ಆಕ್ಸಿಹಿಮೋಗ್ಲೋಬಿನ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಆಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್, P50 value. This is, you should keep it in mind. P50 value increases with, what is that, decreasing partial pressure of oxygen, and also with increasing partial pressure of carbon dioxide, it affects the P50 value. So here, a rise in PO2, just you can write, note, rise in, what is that, the PCO2, and fall in pH, means PCO2, if it is increased, pH, what is that, decreases because of the increased H plus ion concentration, right, because of H plus ion increased, what is it, in the increased condition. So these two factors will going to raise the P50 value, that is leads to, or rise, because of these factors, rise in P50 value. So this is very, very important, you may get this. So rising this P50 value, which is called as Bohr's effect, explained by Bohr, right? So that is what we can say. This, the oxygen affinity of the hemoglobin decreases. Oxygen, he defines like this: oxygen affinity of the hemoglobin oxygen affinity with hemoglobin, or you can say affinity of hemoglobin decreases, rise in what is that, two things, PCO2 and fall in pH. So this effect is called as Bowers effect. So next, carbonic anhydrase concentration. So this is we discussed in the last class. So what is that? So whenever we are going to say that in the RBC, right, that reaction which is going to take place, that is what, H plus plus HCO3 minus. If you catalyze this, more what is it, the carbonic anhydrase will be there in RBC, right? More concentration will be there in RBC, more concentration of carbonic anhydrase in RBC, whereas in outside that, in the plasma, it will be present but less concentration of carbonic anhydrase will be there in both the RBC and plasma. We can see this enzyme in both RBC and plasma. We can see this carbonic anhydrase enzyme, which is going to catalyze the catalyzes that reaction, as we all know that is the reaction. Just recollect that H2O plus CO2 when combines with it forms H2CO3, and then further it will going to degrade that H plus plus HCO3 minus, so which takes place in the RBC. So here, if in the RBC this H plus ion concentration increases and HCO3 minus concentration increases, so little amount of HCO3 will going to move, and it may combines with K plus or Na plus. When it combines with K plus or Na plus, right, that will going to form what is it, the NaHCO3 or KH, what is it, the CO3. So here, to the compensate that, where more the HCO3 minus will going to move out of the the RBC into the plasma, to compensate that a little amount, from the plasma, the chloride will going to shift. So this shift is called as chloride shift. So chloride shift, this will be they explain generally while explaining the transportation of carbon dioxide, right? So transportation of carbon dioxide, which explains the chloride shift, or which is also called as Hamburger's phenomena. So Hamburger's phenomena, right? So phenomenon where we can say it's also called as chloride shift, right, associated with transportation of carbon dioxide, right? So this is what in the RBC, this carbonic anhydrase will be more, in the plasma it will be less. So what is the answer for that? Carbonic anhydrase found in high concentration, that is in the erythrocytes, that is RBC, and little less concentration will be there in the plasma. It won't be there in the lymphocytes and leukocytes. So to catalyze this, mainly to this reaction which takes place at the tissue level and at the alveolar level. Next, as PCO2 of venous blood increases, right, if PCO2, right, partial pressure of why it will going to increase? Generally, as PCO2 means partial pressure of oxygen in the venous blood increases, what happens? So volume of the RBCs increases, right? Here we can say that the concentration of, because it is mainly because of H plus ion. If the carbon dioxide increases, H plus ion, HCO3 concentration just agata. If this concentration increases, the volume of the blood increases. More the carbon dioxide, if accumulates, if it will be there in the blood, that leads to formation of H plus and HCO3 minus. So these the solutes, or you can say that the electrolytes, which are going to increase in these electrolytes, increases the blood volume. Increase in these electrolytes increases the volume of blood. So as the PCO2 of the venous blood increases, the volume of the blood increases. So this is the answer for the 49th question. So here the concentration of HCO3 minus decreases, no, it will going to increase, right? And then the amount of chloride RBC decreases, no, the moment more HCO3 which is going to move out, what happens? More chloride which is going to move in to maintain that, what is that, the balance, right? Like ion balance should be maintained. That is what chloride shift helps in maintaining ionic balance, right? Not in particular, if H plus ion ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದರೆ that combines with hemoglobin forms HHB, that hemoglobinic acid, so that it can reduce acidity. Again, if what is it, the if it is increased condition, if it is decrease H plus ion concentration, then HHB can dissociate, right? HHB can dissociates to release H plus plus HB. See, H plus ion release ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, it will going to maintain the ion concentration. So blood buffer, what is it, it acts as a blood buffer. So, and this you have to keep it in mind, right? So next, then affinity of the hemoglobin for oxygen increases, right? So if more carbon dioxide, hemoglobin always shows affinity towards carbon dioxide only, not towards the oxygen, Next, the percentage of hemoglobin saturated with oxygen will increase. If percentage of hemoglobin, if it has to increase, the percentage of saturation has to increase, right? More PO2 should be there, right? So the percentage, what is that? If in the arterial blood, if PO2 increases, we can say that generally, right? So, and then the arterial, what is it, the in the artery, right? If partial pressure of carbon dioxide increases, right, generally the percentage saturation of hemoglobin saturated with oxygen will increase if arterial pH is decreased. No, arterial pH if we are going to decrease, that means, what is that, decreasing means, what is that, less carbon dioxide. Decreasing means less carbon dioxide, right? If arterial pH is decreased, right, and the temperature is increased. Temperature increase means, right, generally that is when it will going to increase, that is increased carbon dioxide concentration will be there, right? And the arterial PCO2 increased. So here the arterial PCO2, when it will going to increase, the percentage hemoglobin saturated with oxygen will increase, right? So this is one very important thing, right? You have to keep it in mind. So if the arterial PCO2 increased, that means, what is the meaning of that? Arterial PCO2 means, what is that? This is the alveoli here, which blood which will going to bring that artery, pulmonary artery, right, generally, and pulmonary vein will going to carry oxygenated blood. Don't get confused here. This will going to bring, that is pulmonary, what is it, the artery. So in the artery, if the concentration of carbon dioxide is more high, so that it can easily move, because here will be very high partial pressure of oxygen, so that can bind with, against that, even though there is a high concentration of carbon dioxide inside the, what is it, the alveoli, more, that is 104 mm of Hg will be there. Against that, it will going to move, and that forms oxyhemoglobin. That is what in the arterial, what is it, the PCO2, if it is increased, what is that, hemoglobin saturation with oxygen will increase. Next, the concentration of carbonic acid does not increase in blood due to the presence of, see, carbonic acid does not, what is the meaning of that? Generally it combines with, as we mentioned, that, what is that, H2CO3, if it is going to increase, right, that will be going to generally converted into H plus plus HCO3 minus. If this acid will going to increase, it will move out of the RBC. From the RBC, it will move out and combines with, what is that, the K plus or Na plus, right? So that will going to compensate that Cl minus, that is what the chloride shift. So concentration of carbonic acid does not increase in blood due to the presence of, right? What exactly? That is due to the presence of sodium ion, right? Mainly that is the sodium ions, right, which will go into carbonic acid won't increase, right? So this you have to keep it in mind. That is going to compensate that. What I can say that NaHCO3 formation, largely that is NaHCO3 formation will be CO3 formation takes place, right? Next, affinity of hemoglobin is increased by affinity of hemoglobin, that is we know that affinity of the hemoglobin is increased by, what is the meaning of that? As we all know that carbon monoxide towards the carbon monoxide more affinity than the carbon dioxide, and it is more. So if carbon monoxide poisoning means unburnt, what is it, the unburnt carbon, what is it, the it won't properly, what is it, the burn, right? So that is the unburnt carbon, right, which will going to release that carbon monoxide, right? So whenever this carbon, what is it, the well you can say that the if the candle, right, you're going to light a candle, some 3-4 candles, and you're going to close that the complete, what is it, the window, and there will be no supply of oxygen. If it is not, what is it, they're going to burn properly, right? That unburnt, what is it, the because of the improper, what is it, the burning, where the more carbon dioxide will be released, so carbon monoxide will be released. So if more carbon dioxide, if a person will going to sleep, what is it, by lighting the candle in a closed room, there the carbon monoxide concentration increases. Generally ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮರದ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಮಲಗಿದ್ರೆ ರಾತ್ರಿ ಹೊತ್ತು ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಥರದ ಕಂಡೀಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಸಾಯ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಟು ಕೀಪ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ ಮೈಂಡ್. ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಮೊನಾಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಪಾಯ್ಸನಿಂಗ್, ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಮೊನಾಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಪಾಯ್ಸನಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ carbon monoxide poisoning. So this is next question. So medullary respiratory center is directly affected. So when exactly that will be affected? When the PCO2 and H plus ion concentration, when the H plus ion, what is that concentration, PCO2 and H plus ion concentration, what is that, increases. So chemically it can be affected, right? These will be sensed by those active receptors, sensed by chemoactive receptors, right, which are present in the heart and also in the, what is it, so this will going to affect. Next question, we can move on to mammalian lungs have enormous number of minute alveoli, air sacs. This is to allow, so we can say that the more large number of alveoli, because of that we can say generally that complete alveoli, if you're going to place that covers the one, what is it, the tennis court, the surface area. If you're going to keep on placing that, all those, what is it, the alveoli, if you're going to spread, that covers completely one tennis court, right? So if you can say that is 100 square meter, right, 100 meter square. So this is a more surface area, which more the surface area, more diffusion can be takes place, right? So that is what, more surface area, more diffusion of gases will going to takes place, right? So more space for increasing the volume of inspired air, not only for the inspired air but also along with that for the expired air, including both. That is why we will say diffusion of gases. More nerve supply to keep the lungs working. No, that is, it is not like that. If you're going to, what is it, the more oxygen you are going to provide, the more the active or work will be done. So that is in the stenosis condition, it will be increased. More spongy texture for keeping lungs in a proper shape. No, that is anatomical airtight, what is it, the chamber which keeps, and it is a spongy, yes, but anatomical structure will going to keep that in a proper shape. Next, so in alveolar air, right, the partial pressure of, what is it, the carbon dioxide, just now we discussed that in the alveolar air, right, inside the, what is it, the alveoli, 104, what is it, the PO2, and it will be 40 PCO2. So that is the answer for that, the 40 mm of Hg, 40 mm of Hg, the partial pressure of, what is it, carbon dioxide is 40 mm of Hg. So the disease pneumonia in humans which affects the alveoli of lungs caused by. So whenever we're going to talk about the disorder, generally pneumonia, asthma, and then, what is it, the from the industries, what is that, where we can say that the industrial dust, right? You can say that the occupational disorders. So occupational disorders which includes fibrosis and silicosis, mainly that is that silicosis and what is that, asbestosis. So these which we will say that they generally several mineral dust. So asbestos means, silica means only few, that is we can say that the exposure to silica, exposure only silica, that is during processing sand which will be produced, right? Asbestosis means several mineral dust, several, what is that, mineral dust. It is highly dangerous. So silicosis and asbestosis. Before that, let us take the one by one. It is generally, these are the common occupational disorders. Common occupational disorders means a person which will be exposed more, right? So prolonged exposure lead to inflammation, right? A person, if you're going to expose more to this, so prolonged exposure to such dust leads to inflammation, right? So this inflammation further may lead to cancer, right? Proliferation of fibrous tissue, right? Thick, what is it, the thickness increases, so proliferation of fibrous tissue. So that fibrous tissue accumulates and that can't be able to diffuse properly, that air can't be able to diffuse, so that this causes a serious lung damage. So these are the things in the, what is it, the occupational disorders. Hence better to, what is it, the prevent, right? So whenever we're going to say that mainly affects the upper part of the lung. So here in this case, in both these cases, the upper part of the, what is it, upper respiratory tract will be affected. So this you have to keep it in mind. Next, how exactly we can prevent? That is, we should adopt more preventive measures. What is that? Minimizing the work exposure. Person ಏನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಆಲ್ಟರ್ನೇಟಿವ್ ಡೇನಲ್ಲಿ ರಜಾ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆಲ್, what is it, the informed about what is the harmfulness because of that, and use of preventive gears ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. That is masks ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, or you can say that mainly we can say that the masks, we should give information about that these things will going to affect. So that is what we can say, use of protective gears, masks, and we can say clothings, proper ಬಟ್ಟೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ, that is we can avoid that to the prolonged exposure. And person should undergo diagnosis, what is that, regularly, so that he can, what is that, check that disorders. Next, what is it, pneumonia is the condition where exactly it is caused by streptococcus pneumonia. This is also called as Haemophilus influenzae, not also called as, sorry, one more, that is Haemophilus influenza, or we can say that streptococcus pneumoniae. So which leads to accumulation of the, I will write here, which is by both these, that is streptococcus pneumonia. Influenza virus though, streptococcus pneumoniae, this is bacteria, right? It caused by both bacteria and virus. So what is the meaning of, what is it, the pneumonia? That is accumulation of mucus and lymph in the lungs, right? Main again dead WBCs which fight against that now. So dead WBCs which will going to accumulate, dead WBCs in the fluid, along with that lymph, right? So lymph, dead WBCs, right, which will be there in the, what is that, which will be there in the alveoli. So hence, if fluid content accumulated in the alveoli, so proper exchange won't take place. So that is the one you have to keep it in mind. So disease pneumonia, which generally affects a human being, alveoli of the lungs, that is accumulation of, what is it, the dead WBCs and lymph, along with that the fluid content, right? So mucus and lymph containing dead WBCs. So in this case, you have to keep it in mind, that is because of the Haemophilus influenzae or bacteria called as streptococcus pneumoniae, right? Next, the one is emphysema, right? So before going to take this question, let me take one more disease, emphysema. So it is a condition where, what is it, the alveolar, what is it, the ducts. So the chronic disorder where the, what is it, generally the alveolar walls are damaged. Alveolar wall yak damage agutte generally, alveolar wall, what is it, damaged. It is a condition, alveolar wall damaged. So in this alveolar wall, when it is damaged because of, you can say mainly the person who will going to, what is it, the cigarette smokers, right? Because of the cigarette smoking, those chemicals which will be accumulate, which affects mainly, what is it, the bronchi affect madutte. Along with that, mainly it affects the alveolar sac. When the alveolar sac, which will be accumulated by these chemicals, they can't be able to show distensibility in between. That is, they can't be able to, what is that, extends. Very difficult. No, what is that, distension. Proper distension can be seen. So this leads to, right, no distension means they can't be able to expansion. No expansion. If no expansion, more, what is that, respiratory gases can't be able to taken into the, what is it, the lungs. More respiratory gases can't be able to taken into the lungs. So when this will going to affect the alveolar sac, the enlargement and dilation of the alveolar sac, and along with that the bronchitis will be affected. Enlargement of, what is it, enlargement of alveolar sac and dilation, both alveolar sac and bronchitis can't show that enlargement. Bronchitis, that is bronchi and alveolar sac can't be able to show dilation. We can also say that the enlargement and distensibility, expand agakku agalla. So idrinda air proper exchange agalla. It affects mainly what, emphysema, that affects the alveolar ventilation. What is it, the it affects the rate of alveolar ventilation. This is very, very important. It affects the rate of alveolar ventilation. So bronchitis, you know that it is similar to asthma. Bronchitis similar to asthma, where sputum will be less. In the asthma, sputum will be more. Asthma, right, that is bronchial spasm. Asthma, we can say, that is in case of, what is it, the, right, asthma, right, we can also call it as bronchial spasm. Bronchial spasm. So that is due to the inflammation of the bronchi and bronchioles. That is because of the infection of the bacteria, right? So that is mainly inflammation in the, what is that, bronchi and bronchioles. When the inflammation in the bronchi and bronchioles will be there, that is called as asthma. Here more sputum will be there. ಇಲ್ಲಿ sputum ಇದೆ, ಹಾಗೆ bronchitis ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ less sputum. Bronchitis, less sputum. So in both the cases, asthma and bronchitis, there will be difficulty in breathing. Heavy breathing ಬೇಕು, ತುಂಬ ಕಷ್ಟವಿದ್ದು breathe ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. So these are the things which will be there in the, so emphysema because of the cigarette smoking, and where the alveolar ventilation reduces. Keep it in mind, it because of this reduction in the alveolar ventilation. This question we may expect. What is it? No distensibility, no enlargement, no dilation of both alveolar sacs and, what is that, bronchioles. Next, let us take this there. Next question, alveolar epithelium. In the alveolar epithelium, what exactly? Generally, it is consisting of ciliated, non-ciliated squamous epithelium. No cilia will be there, but there will be, what is that, squamous epithelium. Alveolar epithelium, that is lined by simple squamous epithelium antanu kuda helbodu. Simple, what is that, squamous epithelium, flat like cells, right? Next, ciliated columnar, which will be there generally, the, what is it, the ciliated columnar will be there in the upper respiratory tract. Ciliated columnar will be there in the upper respiratory tract and also in the fallopian tube, right? That is oviduct. In the fallopian tube we can see, and along with that we can also see that in the, what is it, the generally the uterus, right? Fallopian tube, uterus. And this, the ciliated squamous, which will be there in the, what is it, the simple squamous, or you can say lines, the blood vessels, and also alveolar sacs in some body cavities, ciliated squamous, right? Next, carbon dioxide transported from tissues to respiratory surface. Tissues, that is from tissues to respiratory surface, right? That will be transported, right? Only by means of what? That is they are asking. That is with the help of what is it? It is not only because of the plasma or not only because of the erythrocytes, right? Leukocytes are not involved, but plasma and erythrocytes which are involved in this. So they're going to transport, right? That is, we already know that in the form of carbonic acid, what is it? The bicarbonate ion and carbaminohemoglobin. So three forms that carbon dioxide will be transported. Respiratory center which regulates the respiration is located in, that is respiratory center. We can also say that respiratory rhythmic center. We know that that is present in medulla oblongata. So medulla oblongata, which will be with what is it? The dorsal respiratory group and ventral respiratory group and pneumotoxic center, right? Next question. So this, what is it? We can consider very important, what is the question? The carbon dioxide is transported via blood to the lungs mostly, right? Mostly how it will going to, what is it, transported? So here see, carbon dioxide transported via blood to lungs. You can input RBs in the H plus HCO3 minus, because of this, what is it, H2CO3. When it reaches the lungs, it will going to form this H plus HCO3. This which will be reaches the lung, it going to form one reverse reaction HCO3 and then what is that, H2O plus CO2. CO2 lungs ge entry agutte. So that is what we can say generally, which is always in the form of bicarbonate ion. Reaction ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, H2O plus CO2 ಇದು ಟಿಶ್ಯೂ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಇದು ಟಿಶ್ಯೂ ಲೆವೆಲಿಂದ what is it, blood will going to move. That is, when it reaches, it will going to keep on changing in this form. If it is excess, it will going to convert where the more, what is it, the ionic balance, you can say, or you can say that the more carbon dioxide this will going to produce. So here in the, what is it, the alveolar site, this will be going to produce. So as and when it reaches the alveolar site, when it reaches the alveolar site, what happens? There will be more, what is it, PO2. This PO2 affects this condition. What happens in this condition? Keep it in mind, when the more PO2 is there, hemoglobin will going to show affinity towards this. And one more thing, this HCO3, right, which will be going to move out, it stops. And chloride ion, which will going to move out, it stops. That chloride ion will going to move out of the, what is it, the RBC, and HCO3 will going to move into the RBC if it is less outside. So in this case, what you have to keep in mind, that is, when the reaches the alveolar site, that will be degraded, and that will going to, this will going to show reverse reaction. It converted into HCO3, and then from the HCO3, H2O plus CO2 will going to eliminate it from the, what is that, blood capillary into the lungs. So this is, you have to keep it in mind. So with this, we can conclude, what is it, this chapter. We can take some, I will give some homework questions, we can solve that. Thank you.